This is Chequers, the country house of the Prime Minister. Now we all know that number 10 Downing Street became the building where the most COVID fines were given. But it's possible Chequers might become the next one, as Boris Johnson looks like he was partying there too, or at least having social gatherings when the rest of us couldn't even meet with our family and friends during the pandemic. So how did this come out?
The concerns apparently arose after lawyers looked through Boris Johnson's diaries for submissions to the COVID inquiries.
You just mentioned Boris Johnson, of course, and we know that he faces new allegations that he broke lockdown rules, although Boris Johnson's team and backers are calling it a political stitch-up.
And Boris Johnson's fired a letter off from the United States saying any suggestion that he's trying to withhold private documents would be highly prejudicial.
I think we should take this in stages. The position is, as you know, there's a COVID inquiry taking place. Now, for that to take place, documentation in the normal way has to be scrubbed and considered by lawyers with a view to disclosing it. So that process has taken place.
He's also furious about the lawyers the Cabinet Office sent him to help with his submission to the COVID inquiry, who then passed on material which has ended up in police hands.
Those lawyers seem to have found a number of entries that they're concerned about relating to people visiting Chequers and possibly Downing Street during lockdown.
Of course his supporters are out to discredit the whole story.
But I can tell you, as a source not a million miles away from Boris Johnson, which I suppose I am myself, these allegations are as nutty as a fruitcake. They are nuttier than the non-fruit cake that he was ambushed with when he was Prime Minister in number 10 Downing Street.
Was that a nut cake then? As I'm not aware of the type of cake he had for his birthday, but surely it was a sponge cake, wasn't it? And that's not nutty at all. If you have any information on the type of cake it was, please let me know.
The civil service have gone to the police without even engaging with Boris Johnson's lawyers, who I thought it would have been at the very least a common courtesy, if not some sort of requirement to do so. So I think this is very bizarre what's going on here. I think a lot of people are starting to ask questions about what is simply, what is it people have got against Boris.
Well, let me tell you, Jonathan, he's a
read you out what Boris Johnson's spokesman has said this evening. He says some abbreviated entries in Mr Johnson's official diary were queried by the Cabinet Office during preparation for the COVID inquiry. Following an examination of the entries, Mr Johnson's lawyers wrote to the Cabinet Office and Privileges Committee, who are also investigating him, explaining that the events were lawful and were not breaches of any COVID regulations.
Same old lies then. Click here for the whole Partygate saga.